grab your cup. I was having a one-on-one call with a client recently, and we were talking about her anxiety, which, all of us have experienced at one time. Some of us live there most of the time. But she was talking about her anxiety and how she doesn't even know why. Might be at work, she needs to go into a meeting, she needs to speak up and say something. She knows what she wants to say. She's certain of it, and yet when she goes to talk, she kind of freezes up. And then a different client in a one-on-one call was saying something about before getting on the calls, and we're in a small group, we've been working together, we know each other. She's like, I love getting on the call, but before I get on the call, I feel so anxious. Why is that? What they're both describing is something that you may have noticed, which is the response comes automatically from the body. What you're thinking could be fine. You are looking forward to getting on a call with somebody. You're looking forward to seeing somebody. You're going into a social situation and everything feels good. And then all of a sudden, boom, you have this response in your body. Why is that? So your nervous system, which is a living system in the body, it's not like this some concept. It's a living full body system of nerves. And its job is to collect the data that your senses are taking in. You see things, you hear things, you smell things, collect the data and interpret that data as, is this a threat or am I safe? So the nervous system is doing that faster than every second it's taking in the data. And it's also going internally into within to see, am I safe? So it's collecting data outwardly and inwardly within you. Every experience that you've ever had since even before you were born is stored in that data collection system. So think of it as like a big filing cabinet. Every experience is in there. The experiences that have had big emotional impact get tagged. They get tagged, especially if the emotions were negative. They get tagged as big problem. Don't let this happen again. So it's not just necessarily that you felt unsafe, it's the emotions that went along with that. Are you with me? So let me give you two quick examples. The other day I was walking my dogs, both my dogs. They are not dog friendly. They love people, but they're not friendly with other dogs. We were on a leash and this loose dog came running kind of through the woods towards us. And I immediately had an overwhelming stress response. My heart was pounding, I was breathing. I burst into sweat because I'm trying to hold my two dogs and they're strong. And I was picturing like I'm not gonna be able to hold them or there's gonna be a fight with them on the leashes. And I'm screaming, no, no. And the dog took off. I think its owner called that. I don't even know. I was in such a chaotic state. And as I'm walking away, big stress response. My breathing was really going, but there wasn't a lot of emotion attached to that experience because nothing happened. So it ended up being okay. So my body was able to calm down pretty quickly. Took me however many feet. I stood there and I was like, okay, everything's fine, we're good. And my body calmed down. Now a different example. Let's say you're 6 years old and you're sitting on the stairs in your house listening to your parents argue. They don't even know you're on the stairs. They're down in the kitchen and they're arguing. And you're 6 years old. There's no threat to your safety in that moment, right? You're just sitting on the stairs. But the emotions that you're experiencing as a 6-year-old, as you're hearing your parents yell at each other, maybe your father's really yelling at your mother or back and forth, and you're emotionally, you get really scared. It's upsetting to hear your caregivers screaming at each other. And as a 6-year-old, right, not even knowing what to do with that, it's just fear. That experience will get tagged as a big problem, much more so than the dog incident. And there wasn't even a threat. When I was walking the dogs, there was a threat. There was a threat to my dogs. There was a threat to me because potentially I could be in the middle of a 3-dog fight, right? So that 6-year-old has no threat, yet that experience got really tagged. So what does that mean? 40 years later, when that person hears maybe similar words, or there's a voice that sounds like when their father or their mother yelling, or it's a similar topic, whatever the argument was about, they hear somebody else talking about that topic. Anything that tells your computer data system, this is similar enough that it's a problem, you're going to have that same response as the 6-year-old did. The fear, you'll feel it. Where do you feel fear in your body? Usually for me, it's like in my stomach, boom, it tightens up, right? Or it might be like I get constricted in my chest and my heart starts going. So you'll feel your body responding just like that 6-year-old felt. Now here's even one step further. Have you heard of fight or flight? Those are the two main survival ways that our body responds. There's some other ways we respond when we feel threatened, but those are the two main ones. So that 6-year-old may have wanted to get up and run to their room and hide under the covers, hearing the fight and getting upset enough. So that's flight. I'm going to get up and I'm going to run. If the parents never even knew that the kid was listening and that child had no way of processing out that experience, that fear stays in there, and that flight response, I want to run away and hide under my covers, becomes in the nervous system, then that person could very often be stuck in a flight response in all other things, because that cycle of flight is still in there. If the parents saw the kid and said, oh, honey, don't worry, everything's okay. I'm so sorry you hurt us. Mommy and daddy are not going to fight. We love each other. Everything's fine. And that child could process that out and didn't need to go run and hide, then that flight response would not be stuck in their system along with the tag of this is a problem. So we get into these cycles of flight, like I want to keep myself really busy. I don't want to deal with this. Those are all versions of running and hiding under your covers, right? Super busy, not going to talk about this, pushing it aside. A fight response could be, let's say you're in 7th grade and you're at school and there's a bully who's picking on you and you want to fight. You want to push them away. You want to say, shut up, stop it, punch them, anything. You have a fight response in your body, but you don't fight. The teacher comes out, you don't get a chance to fight. And that also never gets processed out. It's just like, go back to the classroom, and you're sitting in the classroom and you're fuming. That fight response, and that, if it was a big emotional response to your nervous system, gets stuck in your body. And how does that look in that person throughout their life? Somebody stuck in a fight response, who needed to fight for attention, who needed to fight because they felt their boundaries were crossed when they were 10 years old. But that person will show up grumpy and irritable throughout their day, very judgmental of other people, criticizing, kind of always looking for what's wrong with other people. That's a person stuck in a fight response cycle. So those cycles get stuck in our body when we didn't have the opportunity to process through them. And those experiences got tagged with big red flags in our body as, don't let this happen again. So anytime we see or experience something that is similar enough, that response is going to automatically kick in. That's why my client goes into meetings, because she had experiences when she was young that were scary and upsetting, and she couldn't talk about it. She had to shove it down. There was no opportunity. She never told anyone, and they were big, scary experiences. That's what's happening. And that's the work that we do, is completing those cycles so that your body can return to peace and safety. You have to teach your nervous system how to experience safety again, because it's been living from those tagged experiences, and it's showing up in the way you are in social situations. It's showing up in your relationships. It's showing up in the choices that you make over and over and over again. That's why we get stuck in anxiety or any other depleting pattern, emotional pattern like depression, apathy, grief. We can get stuck there, or we get stuck in patterns and choices because our system is telling us, make this choice because you're threatened, and you may not be. So if any of that speaks to you, go ahead and drop talk in the comments. I would love to speak with you about how to get that changed and transformed in your life?